Let's have a 5-minute look at computer models and see how accurate they are or how inaccurate they could be. Now, the way we're going to look at this is by two rides I've done in the last week, which were exactly the same. One that I did yesterday and one that I did, well, 1 week before that. So, yesterday's ride. Coming home from the city, and the bit we're interested in is coming off the Iron Cove Bridge and then heading west around the Bay Run, around here. Now, if we come down here and have a look at all the statistics, you can see the bits we're really interested in. We come off the Iron Cove Bridge, and according to this, I was doing 22 kilometres an hour in one section, 19.8, 19.4, dropping down to 17 on this bit. Now, look on the magnet's short lead out. It's said I've got a heart rate of 125 beats per minute, and I'm pushing 101 watts. And the way it's calculating this is it knows my weight, and I guess it's looking at what speed I'm doing. It's saying in order to push my weight around at that speed, I'm just barely ticking over at 101 watts. Why is this important? Well, because there's a factor that this model that Strava uses has left out, and we'll get to that in a minute. Now let's look at a more typical day's effort. When I'm coming home and I'm feeling fairly chipper, and I normally come off the Iron Cove Bridge and I put my foot down, and we can see the difference that my speed is nearly double in some sections. 34 kilometres an hour, 35 versus 17 to 20 yesterday. And look at the power output, nearly 350 watts, 400 watts on the bay curves, dropping off a little bit down to 385 watts. This is estimated, of course, because I don't have power meters on the bike. But this is what it's calculating my effort at. And look, my heart rate is a little bit more elevated, 135 beats per minute versus 125. But you look at this and go, why is it that, yesterday, when I had a fairly similar level of effort, 125 versus 135 beats per minute heart rate, yet one effort I'm going twice as fast and putting out nearly 4 times as much power? Well, there's a really simple answer for that. Yesterday, it was as windy as buggery. It was like a flippin' cyclone was blowing out there. The headwind was so appalling. At some point, I almost got off and walked. So, where it says here I was putting out 101 watts to do 17 kilometres an hour, I reckon I was doing closer to 350 watts. And my heart rate, whilst a bit lower, would confirm that. I mean, I was pushing so hard around this section, I can't ride today because I've got pulled muscles all through my legs. And this is something I haven't had for years. Like, I have hurt myself seriously doing these efforts into this headwind. So, think about that for a moment with a computer model. This thing is missing a particularly critical input, which is the weather, or more importantly, the wind, the speed, the direction, and how that impacts on performance. So when people talk about computer models, that's something to think about. Are all relevant data inputs being factored into it? Are the calculations correct? And in this case, we can say, well, absolutely not. I'd say, look, it gives a very good estimation on a still day, and I think it's great. But for crying out loud, don't think that on a windy day, this thing's giving any form of accuracy in terms of power output. Here endeth the lesson.